Hi everybody, my name is Nicole Carlson and I am studying Information Systems at Brigham Young University, and this fall I'll be entering the second year of my master's. I'm excited to talk to you about coding today. It's something that I'm passionate about, though I only found it just a couple of years ago when I started taking the prereqs to the Information Systems program. However, I have always loved math and science. Growing up, that was something that I always loved and excelled at, and I realized looking back that I had a lot of female teachers and mentors that encouraged me to push myself in math and science, and I never felt limited. And so I feel like that's helped me and guided me to become a woman in STEM, a woman in tech, and I am really grateful for that because I found this industry that gives me a lot of confidence and a way to push myself as an individual and learn more skills. Though it hasn't always been that way, I still have to fight and learn and push myself every day. If you are interested in learning about technology and getting into coding, you can do it. But it will take time, and other people will be better at it because they have more experience than you, but that doesn't mean you can't do it, and that doesn't mean that after you start learning that you should stop. That's something that I have really had to fight through as I've got into programming, is to never give up and just dive in to something that I don't know and trust myself to be able to learn it. And I have, and I've come a long way. Right now I am interning at American Express as a software developer in New York City. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about just like the basics of the coding world and kind of what it all entails, and then hopefully I'll have enough time to help you guys get started on building your very first website. So our world is becoming more and more technology based, and coding makes it all possible. You have operating systems that run our desktop computers, laptop computers, our mobile phones. There's mobile app development, there's website development, video games, robotics, anything electric, Alexa, voice activated things. Everything is possible because of programming. And programming logic is the core of it all. No matter what programming language you use, it's all about the logic. So for example, you have simple if, then, or else statements. So if a certain condition occurs, then do this. If it doesn't, then do this. So if condition equals true, then do this, else do this. So this is how computers think. You can tell a computer how to think. That's what programming is. And so, essentially we do this, we think this way in our lives. If I'm hungry, if hungry equals true, then eat food. If not, else, then eat ice cream, because you always have room for ice cream, right? Okay, so that is how programming works in general. What I'm going to talk about today, because this is what I do, is web programming, specifically for websites. And so that's what I'm passionate about. The difference between a web application and just a website. A web application is, most of the websites you go to online today is a web application. If you can log in and you have an account and it has information about you, that's a web app. That data is stored in a database and it's pulled on to the website for you to interact with it. A website, there's just sometimes a static website and it doesn't do anything other than just have information on a page. A web application works like this. So you have your computer, and you have the browser, and you go to the website and it has, your login info, right? And it has your button. So essentially what's happening is you have the front end code that you have the browser requesting front end code that is rendered. You have the front end code talks to the back end code, which talks to a database, So the database then sends back the data that is needed for the website. The backend code can manipulate it or sort it or verify it and then send it to the front end, and then the front end renders it and displays it so that the browser can understand it. There's different frameworks that do this in different ways, different computer programming languages. For example, you may have heard of Python or C++ or Ruby. Front-end languages, you have the basic HTML and CSS. So with the rest of our time, I'm going to walk you through how to create a web page built with CSS and HTML so that you can view it on a browser on your computer. Now, I hope this video doesn't get you overwhelmed, so don't be afraid to ask for the video to be paused and to catch up, because I know that happens to me a lot too. So let's get started.
So first what we're going to do is open a text editor. So you can just search, this is a Mac, so I'm going to search for text edit and open up this application. If you're on a PC or Windows, the text editor by default is called Notepad, so you can search for that. If you might have another text editor on your computer, which is great, if you do, those ones are a little bit helpful to use. So this part is for Macs. Windows might be fine without this step, I'm not sure, but we're just going to click on Format and this option that says Make Plain Text. That's going to help us out as we write our code. So we're going to save our file as an HTML file. This is going to tell the computer that this is HTML code and it can be read as a website page. We're just going to call it my first website.html. And let's just save it to the desktop. Once this comes up, just use h.html. Okay, so now we're ready to start coding. In HTML, there are tags that initiate each object on a page. So we're going to start by creating the head and the body of our web page. We do this by typing the head tag, which is just a less than sign, the word head, and then the greater than sign. Every tag in HTML has an opening and a closing tag. So if we create an opening tag, we have to then create a closing tag, which is just a slash and then the same word. So once we have that, I like to create some space to make it a little bit more organized. Then we're going to create a body. Same way. So now we have our head and our body. The head includes information on the page that doesn't necessarily show up on the page, but everything that you want to show up on your website is included in the body. The head just usually has some extra data. So we're going to include a tag in the head that's called the title. And so then we're going to do the closing tag. And we're going to title this my first website. So this is the title tag, and it is going to say that this in here is the title, and I'll show you where that shows up on the page later. In the body, this is going to be the text that actually shows up on the page. We are going to do the heading. So you can have a heading tag, which is just an H1 tag. There's different levels of heading tags, H1, H2, H3, to signify the different importance of text on a page. So we're going to start with our H1. It's kind of tradition in coding to make the first thing that you create say hello world. So we're going to type that. And then you have to close your heading tag. So we're going to save it, just file save. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open Chrome or any other browser. And we're just going to go to File, Open File. And then we're going to navigate to that page. I saved it on my desktop. And I'm going to click Open. So as you can see, it says Hello World. If you look right here, this is the title. That in that title tag, it says My First Website. So that's what shows up on the actual tab. And so you can see that this page is not actually on the internet. There's not a URL. It's just living on our local computer. Now we're going to learn to style our website. As you can see, it's pretty plain, and we can make it look better. So to start, we're going to put a background color onto our web page. So to do that, we just, inside the HTML tag here, you just type the word style equals with quotation mark, and inside the quotation marks, you're going to establish the CSS property, which we're going to say background dash color. And then I'm going to find the hex code for teal because that's my favorite color. And we're going to use this hex code. You can use any color that you want. A hex code is just a numeric version of a color. And so I'm going to put that in. So now when I save and I refresh it, it's going to have this teal background, which is pretty fun. There's a lot of different types of styles. So I'm going to do a text align style, which is basically going to center my text because I want the hello world to be in the center. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. So you can play around with different colors and making it bigger, making the text bigger or smaller, or making the text different colors. There's a lot of different styles, and this styling CSS controls the spacing of everything on the web page. Next, we're going to talk about an image tag. The image tag is special as it doesn't have a closing tag. It just has that opening tag. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give it a source. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to search Google for an image. And I'm going to pick an image, and then I'm just going to open image in a new tab, and what this will give me is the URL specific to this image, so that way we can go directly to it. I'm just going to paste that right in here, right in the quotation marks of the source. So when I save that and I refresh my page, there's my image. Now it's a little bit bigger than I want, so I'm going to create a style. I'm going to say width is 800 pixels, let's say. And that will make sure that the width only goes to 800 pixels. So you can play around with the different tags, and you can create like another tag, let's say an H3. There we go. So you can see that it shows up a little bit smaller because it's less important than the heading tag. There it is. You know how to create a website, and if you want to Google any other HTML tags to figure out how to do anything, or CSS styling to get it to look a certain way, you can always do that. It's really fun to just dive in and figure it out and create it the way you want it to create. Like I mentioned, this is just living locally on our computers, so to have it live on the internet, you'd have to buy a domain and then host your file on a web server in order for any computer to have access to your site.
I hope that was awesome and fun. There's a lot of resources out online, so if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out for me. If you want to email me or DM me on Instagram or whatever, I'd love to talk to you about how you can get involved with learning more about technology and programming, because it is a great space to be in. There's a ton of opportunities for jobs, and especially flexible jobs, and it's a really exciting space to be in right now. So let me know if anybody has any questions.